live, sir.
Welcome. It's wonderful to be here today with Beppe Robiati. It's a wonderful, it's a special moment for me. It's a special long friendship that's been joining us together for many years. And today, Beppe will be talking about rethinking society and our own role during and after pandemics. So not just this one, but the next ones as well. So what is our role? What is our role as individuals? What is our role in society? And you may ask, who is Beppe Robiati? Now, Beppe Robiati, for a start, is Italian. And you will hear from his accent, he's very Italian, and that's definitely a plus. And the reason why he talks about this is his own experience, having gone through a number of situations during his life as an entrepreneur, a CEO of a company, having managed companies, been part of the NSA of Italy for many, many, many years. So he has a long career of having to manage crises, difficulties, and a very wise mind that people often go to. So I'm really curious to hear what Beppe has to introduce us. How can we as individuals, how can we as society really go forward and address this and any other of the pandemics that may hit us? And then after his introduction, we look forward to seeing your questions and answers. And you can start as he talks, and we will just collect them afterwards. So Beppe, without further ado, really thank you very much for making the time to be with us, and curious to hear your ideas.
So thank you so much, Daniel. Good evening, friends. I say good evening because in Italy it's evening. So I'm talking from the other side of the ocean. And maybe in the US, we are around 11 o'clock. So you will be ready for lunch. We are ready for dinner and for our beautiful bed. So rethinking society after pandemia is a big subject, especially because we are still in the pandemia. I am living in one of the most dangerous areas in Italy. This is Milano area where the COVID has been really, really strong. We cannot forget the time we are living in. This is a special time everywhere, where no one could have imagined what kind of changes COVID-19 would bring into people's daily lives, in their business, in their activities, in their social interactions. And also, we do not know for how long we will have to cohabit with such a situation. But this event gives us a big chance to redefine our way of living individually and the society. Therefore, we need to pause and to reflect on this historical time, because this time is critical if we want to be part of shaping the future. Over the past 100 years, there have been events that should have made us thinking. Starting from the last century, 2 world wars, several global financial crises that have affected the entire world economic system, a huge migration of millions of poor people in many parts of the world, racial wars, terrorism attacks everywhere, climate changes and pollution of the environment at incredible speed, increase of extremes of wealth and poverty to a non-acceptable level, concentration of the planet's wealth into the hands of a minority of the population, and increasing of poverty everywhere, rise of conflicts, whether ethnic or religious, across many nations of the world, affecting children, women, and innocent population, escalation of corruption, theft of power, the growing inequality between men and women in several fields, like economy, employment, health, and also the increase of ideologies such as nationalism and sovereignism, which are really 2 bad items. As humanity at whole, we have not reflected on this crisis. It's about 100 years that we do not reflect on this crisis. We did not reflect on the consequences of this crisis. And now, a small invisible virus is teaching us that the structure of the society at large is not adequate to solve global problems with more than 200 national policies in operation. Today we are about 200 nations in the world, and each one of them is acting independently from the others. While the virus is an international virus, and it does not look at geographical borders, it does not look at the color of the skin, gender, religion, wealth, or poverty, different political system, precisely because it moves quickly, without passport, on the entire planet, and he has shown humanity he is able to attack people and the structures at any level and everywhere. And he finds us unprepared, both at the individual level as well as the structural and institutional level on which society is based today. Our society did not learn until now what is important. Very important, the absolute necessity to develop a global structural system with global laws, global executives, global economic system, and global institutions. In these days, we are paying heavily for the lack in our capacity to deal with it. I hope that the governments, institutions, and the inhabitants of the planet are learning that this is the time to start to move towards a new world structural system. So we have to rethink that our society will be safe only if the entire planet will be safe. The question, therefore, that emerges from all sides is this: will we make it? And if so, how will we make it? The answer, if we will make it, is yes. But there are some conditions. There are some important conditions. First condition: the new scenario of the pandemic drama which fell upon us is the best opportunity, especially for our Western capitalist, liberal, and profit-oriented system to be questioned and to be revisited. Second condition: Western, liberal, extreme capitalist, heavy materialistic style of life is based and oriented towards consumption and profit, to enjoyment and to the claim of rights to indulge in our lover impulses and passions, and all this should be revised. I repeat the second condition because this is very important. Western, liberal, extreme capitalist, heavy materialistic style of life is based and oriented only towards consumption and profit. Third condition: are we ready as Western society to change the way with which we have been living in the last century? If yes, can we accept that we have to work hard to change it? The question was, are we ready as Western society to change the way with which we have been living in the last 100 years? If yes, we have to know that we have to work very hard. And also, are we ready to accept that we may not fully see the results of this transformation? And this transformation will not be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And again, are we ready to believe that this is not only possible, but necessary and inevitable? How can we think that such a deteriorated social system as we see everywhere, driven to the point of being able to destroy the planet itself, the same planet we host and use. How can such system face the challenges of a de facto globalized world, without barriers, without borders, empowered with technology and information unimaginable a few years ago? The whole picture is ready for a big jump. And the big jump is the recognition that humanity is a unique living organism composed of interdependent elements, so that the well-being of the one affects the whole, and the health and wealth of the whole depends on the interaction between the individuals. So we need to acquire awareness of our essential nature, which is not only made of a physical body, but also and above all of intelligence, of inner qualities, gems of inestimable values, skills, mutual services, and respect. These inner qualities, these spiritual virtues, must be taken out from ourselves and offered free of charge to the society at large in a humble way. All of us understand what are these gems of inestimable value: love, humility, generosity, friendship, interest in the community and not only in ourselves, service to others, beauty, acceptance of diversity in all aspects of life, like gender, races, nationality, culture, religion, economic and social level. But we also need a social order based on fairness and justice, without which no real unity is possible. When I speak about unity, I speak the unity of in diversity. Now, this is a very strong phrase. No profit, no economic growth, no success of company or a society or families or individuals can be imagined without putting women and men and general human beings at the center of the picture. The new values of this era are precisely universal education, equal dignity, human rights, opportunities and protection for every human being. And finally, a world government system that capitalizes the cultural, historical, political, artistic, and ethnic heritages that makes our planet a garden luxuriant and attractive for the variety with which it is enriched. And as many still fail to accept, we must realize that man alone cannot make a qualitative leap, because the future is immensely greater than our thoughts and our miseries. We need to lean on enlightened minds, high inspiration, hidden energies that emerge from the darkness of our ignorance. This is why in 1800, a nobleman with the title of Baha'u'llah has come to give us a vision, instruments, and hope to realize these goals. The banner of his face is that the earth is but one country and mankind its citizen. This quotation at first appears just as a beautiful phrase. The earth is but one country and mankind its citizen. How beautiful is this phrase? But we have to search the depth of its inner meaning. The first part is very easy. The planet is becoming a common house where the people of the house are free to move from one room to the other rooms without asking a visa, without presenting the passport, without changing his language, without changing the currency, and so on. But the second part of the phrase is very strong, and is the strong part of the quotation. And it's still not clear to the majority of the human beings, including the Baha'is, living today on the planet, the real profound meaning of this second part of the phrase, of the quotation. Baha'u'llah is introducing the subject of citizenship, which today is a conflictual subject and is a strong conflictual item everywhere in the world. Today, the passport is fundamental. For example, I'm an Italian, and so I have an Italian passport. This passport gives me some rights which are fundamentally freedom and liberty, free education at the charge of the government, social security, and great possibility to have a job, or if I don't have a job, to be helped by the government if I don't have it. Pension at a certain age. In certain countries, a national health organization to take care when we are ill. These are granted by the Italian government only because I have an Italian passport. So this passport is a guarantee for my life and for the life of my family. But if I was born in Zimbabwe or in the Congo with a Zimbabwean or a Congolese passport, I would not have all these rights and items granted. So the second part of the quotation of the earth is but one country and mankind is citizens. So the second part is mankind is citizens, tells us that in the mind of Baha'u'llah, independently where you were born, you should be granted the same rights and benefits and opportunities. This means that the children, the women, the men of the entire planet will have the same opportunity, the same possibility, independently from where they were born, from the color of their skin, from the country they will be coming, from the religion they will be part, because Baha'u'llah is introducing the idea, the concept that we are citizens of the world. This is a revolution in the society at large, a big revolution. So if you are not ready to accept such a revolution, we will not succeed. Our difficulties for the future. This is only an example which shows how immense is the depth of such statement for all aspects of our life. Just to make an example, many of our countries, Italy, US, Canada, Australia, have in the past millions of people migrating from the poor countries to our countries. And the problem was that we were closing the borders, building walls, kicking them out of the countries due to the fact that we don't give them the same passport. When you are moving in your house, from the bedroom to the dining room, you don't have police at the door, you don't show the passport, you don't change your currency, you don't change your language, because the people and the member of the family in the common house are free to move inside the house. So the quotation of the phrase of Baha'u'llah, the earth is but one country and mankind is citizen, has these two main pillars. From one side, we are free to move on the planet, depending on our desires. And on the other side, we don't need to show that we are coming from a certain country. We don't show the passport because we are citizens of the world. And all the children of the planet, we will have the same type of education in order to develop the inner qualities each one of the inhabitants of the planet has. This is a revolution in the society at large, and also it's a revolution in the Western society, in the Eastern society, especially in our countries, where in the last 30 or 40 years, we were putting conflicts on this unity in diversity. So this is an example which shows us how immense is the depth of the phrase of Baha'u'llah in these several aspects of our lives, whether in our individual behavior and attitude towards others, but also how it guides all levels of human interactions, of governance, of institutional organization, of society and systems, and reflection on this is absolutely necessary to flash out the practical steps to be able to reach this level. The virus, the COVID-19, for example, has taught us that we cannot proceed in fighting the virus nation by nation with independent tools and instruments. We have to put all the scientists together. We have to put all the ideas together. We have to study the problem and also to guide the people of different nations with the same style, with the same level. We can see in Brazil, we can see in US, we can see in other countries in India, how different was the approach, how to protect the people. And the consequences are dreadful, are terrible. So our contribution to Rethink Society after the pandemic is to share this vision, the vision of Baha'u'llah to the society at large, with wisdom, detachment, flexibility, and patience. When we say teaching the cause of Baha'u'llah, means give the vision that Baha'u'llah has for the planet, for the individual style of life, and for the future of mankind. The responsibility that everyone has is the ability to distinguish what is useful and what is harmful in the sole interest of the collective good. And this has to be discussed with the personal ego. So the responsibility of each one of us is to give the vision of Baha'u'llah to everyone we meet on our road in the sole interest of the collective good. And this, the pandemic is teaching us that the safety of an individual has no meaning if we don't think about the safety of the whole society. I send my love to each one of you, and I'm ready to answer the question.
Fantastic, Beppe. Thank you very much. Even on Facebook, there were comments made about conversations like this can lead us to a whole new horizon of possibility on planet Earth. So it's not your words, it's obviously Baha'u'llah's inspiration that really moved this forward. So thank you very much. So the question will start to be popping in. As I said, you can write them in the Q&A or in the chat. I'll be happy to pass them on to Beppe. And I wanted to start with one question because you mentioned, amongst other that I managed to capture, when we offer this vision, when we share this vision, you mentioned ways in which to do it. You mentioned wisdom and flexibility. So with this world around us in turmoil, everybody fighting against each other, how can you tell us something about this wisdom and this flexibility? This in which? Because the message will be fantastic, but if you do not communicate in the right way, it will not get anywhere.
You know, if we go through the writings of Baha'u'llah, it's very clear that the faith of Baha'u'llah is a special faith, where we should not convince the people to become Baha'i. We have to convince the people about the vision of Baha'u'llah. The vision of Baha'u'llah has three main pillars. The first pillar is a collective, is a pillar for humanity. The earth is but one country and mankind is citizen. So we have to see that after 5,000 years, we pass through steps from individual to family, from family to tribe, from tribe to village, from village to city, from city to city-state, from city-state to empire, from empire to nation, from nation to sovereign nation. Today we are at the level of sovereign nation. The vision of Baha'u'llah that is we have to jump from the sovereign nation to the world unity. So we have to give sovereignty to the world government in order that the laws coming from what we call it, the world government will give laws for the entire humanity, will follow the same law. This is collective, we have to give the vision. The only problem we have today is to jump on that level. The economy cannot be managed by 7 countries in the world with the G7. The planet is only one. We have to take care about the environment with one world law. We cannot approach the environment with 200 national different laws. The job, the employment. Millions of people are moving on the planet looking for a job. We need an international system where the people can be helped in finding a job everywhere in the world. Women and men, this is one of the main teaching of Baha'u'llah, the equal opportunity. So we have 55% of the inhabitants of the planet are women, but they cannot contribute to the safety to the evolution of the planet due to the fact that there are discrimination against the women everywhere, even in the Western world. So the vision we have to give that this is the moment where the society who have passed through stages in the past 1,000 years, is now at the door of a new phase, which is unity of the planet. This is the first pillar. The second pillar is that we cannot have a united world if we don't have the citizen of this world. Because still today we are divided in people who are part of nations. I'm an Italian, you are Spanish, the other one is American, the other one is Indian. We have to leave the nationality and acquire the nationality of the planet. So we have to be citizen of the world. And of course, citizen of the world means that we have to accept diversity in this different system. Unity in diversity, we are the flowers of a garden, says Abdul Baha in one of his writings. The flowers are different, have a different color, different perfume, but they take the water and they are in the same soil as the people of this planet. This is the second one. The third one, the third pillar of Baha'u'llah is the message to the individual. What is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to have a family, okay. Is to have a job, okay. Is to have a house, okay. Is to have a car, okay. But it's not enough. Because at a certain moment, we will leave this world and we have to know where are we going, what kind of tools we will bring with us, what we will bring with us. When the child is coming out from the womb of the mother, he brings with him those instruments which are qualified to live: legs, brain, eyes, mouth, ears, and arms. And without that, he could have a difficult life. So we have to develop, Baha'u'llah says, these instrument qualities, which are the gems we have inside of ourselves. And to acquire the gems, we have to connect ourselves with the Lord who has created the planet. So we have three pillars. And when we teach the faith of Baha'u'llah, we are not here to convince the people. We have to give the message, giving the vision on a planetarian system, on the diversity, unity in diversity, on the other side, the purpose of an individual in his life. For doing that, we must be wise, we must be soft, we have to get friends with the people with which you speak, and slowly try to give them the vision and lead them to convince themselves that this vision is the vision of the future.
Fantastic. It even gave us the meaning for life, which is the most important part in our lives. So thank you very much for that. Adrian Keelhorn is, we sent him from Europe, we sent him over to Boston. He's now calling from Boston, and he asks, how do you find the balance between helping people who are suffering now in the current system and building a better world? Okay. How do you find that balance?
Yeah, the balance is due to the fact that at the beginning, there is an emergency. And the emergency is to keep the life of the people and to help the people who have difficulties. So for example, if you live in a place where you have a building with families, try to enter in touch with the families and try to understand what is their need, what is their help. And generally, the help is to encourage them in be patient, in following the laws, in following the regulation until the problem will be solved. On the other side is a long-term vision, because the unity of mankind will not come tomorrow, will not come in 10 years, will not come after the pandemic. Will be a long procedure. When Baha'u'llah has written to the kings of the world to suggest them the most great peace, the answer of the kings was negative. Napoleon threw the letter of Baha'u'llah on his back. And Baha'u'llah said, we will reach the most great peace with the people of the world, calling the lesser peace. So we are in the time of the lesser peace, which means that the lesser peace have difficulties, individually and collectively. So I have to encourage the people to be patient, but to have the vision at the end. There is a book of Baha'u'llah called The Seven Valleys, where he says that we have to see the end in the beginning. What does it mean to see the end in the beginning? Just to make you an example. When the farmer is putting the seed of the lemon inside the ground, in the soil, he knows, because he knows the end. He sees the tree with the lemon, but he knows that there is a long work to reach that point, maybe 10 years, 15 years. But he has the right vision, because without that vision, he cannot work. He will not be the courage to wait 15 years to have the lemon. So when Baha'u'llah said we need to see the end in the beginning, he told us which is the end. The end is a united planet where justice will be part of the planet, where we will have a world government, we will have a world legislature giving laws for the whole mankind and the whole planet, and all the nations of the world will be like brothers of a family, no borders, no currency, we will have one currency, one language. This is the end. If we have in our mind the end of the process, we will be encouraged to be patient if there are problems inside the process.
There's with your global connections, your son and building a family in Namibia, your daughter now is about to move to Madagascar. You were born in Africa. So the next question comes from YouTube. AM Sterling asked, what about collectively between all these different nations? How can they collectively manage natural resources? Right now, it seems that each nation wants to use its own. Is there some way forward for these nations to specifically natural resources?
Not today, because today we have three main problems in the world economy about resources. The first one are the strong nations with multinational companies, where they generally invest in putting dictatorship in some countries where we have resources like the Congo or like Zimbabwe or other countries. So generally speaking, we have to work in three different ways. The first one is to bring democracy everywhere, but this is a matter of culture. So to have democracy in a country, we don't bring the democracy with an army. Democracy is a matter of culture. And the matter of culture means that we have to teach the children to be, when they will be adult, democratic. So it takes time. So the first way we have to do is to put schools everywhere in the world. The second one is to convince the people that the only way to solve the problem of poverty, there was a meeting in Davos, last year, with the CEO of the International Monetary Fund, said that 20 years ago, 80% of the resources of the world were in the hands of 20% of the population. After 20 years, last year, she said that 80% of the resources are in the hands of 1% of the population. So the system is bringing poverty in a strong way. What I was saying at the beginning, are we ready? If you remember, are we ready to change and to accept our society? Wait a minute, I want to read the exact quotation. Are we ready, we, Western, liberal, extreme capitalists, heavy materialistic style of life, based and oriented only towards consumption and profit, are we ready to change our mind in this direction? If we are not ready, we will have problems in the future. And the problems will convince the people that the only way to solve the problem will to accept one of the main important laws that Baha'u'llah has brought in his teaching. The resources of the planet are not property of the government where the resources are laid down, are in the custody of a world government which will use these resources with the system of justice and equity. Of course, it will take maybe 100 years or 200 years. The only way is to convince ourselves that the only way is that individually we accept the idea that mankind is only one and that the planet is a common house. Slowly, slowly, the difficulties, when I was speaking about 2 world wars, financial difficulties in 2008, the pandemic now, we will have some more difficulties in the future, be sure. Because the nations and the political system should learn from the difficulties to the right direction, which is unity. Unity in diversity. And the only way to convince them are the difficulties. Look at Europe now. Europe was a terrible common market due to the fact that each one was going on his own way. Now they are discussing how to help all the nations of Europe, which is a new level, a new stage of discussion. The difficulties, for example, the way that millions of people from Africa, from Mexico, from Eastern countries in Southeast Asia are moving from their countries to other countries, are giving the politicians the tool to rediscuss all the policy, how to get in touch with this problem. And slowly, slowly, due to the fact that we will have difficulties, we will go in this direction. I tell you, in September, October, and November, due to the pandemic, we will have a lot of difficulties in the economy because half of the companies of the world are closed. So the people have no salary, the people have no job, and so they will start to protest. They will start to go in the public square and protest against the government. This way is the way that the government changed their ideas and their vision, and they put themselves in the right direction. We individually, especially the Baha'is, should try to do it, to give the vision in our own, with our own people. I'm an economist, I'm teaching at the university, I do at the university. Someone is doing at the high school, someone is doing in a company. So we have an obligation to give the right vision in our environment, not so far away from the life where we live.
And you mentioned multinationals, and there's a question from Arthur Dow about this necessary shift. So right now, multinational corporations really focus on profits or material growth, but it's all material. How can we help their shift, or has a shift already started, do you think? Or do we need, or how do we move that? How do we give them the new vision to accept a world unity concept, working for the common good for all of humankind? How can we help that shift, which seems to be quite important to then determine a lot of other shifts that come with it?
Yeah, the problem is it's a big problem. Hi, Arthur. I hope you're well. We cannot convince a multinational company as individual. The multinational companies will be convinced by the problems which will come out from their own activities. Because this is the main problem. They profit in some areas of the planet due to the fact that they have a lot of money. So they buy government, they buy dictators, they buy people in the country. But slowly, the people becomes more, they understand better that the solution is not that. So slowly, there will be a big crisis about with multinational companies. Just now, there are crises on that. For example, one of the main aspects for the future is agriculture. We have to invest. For example, all companies should invest in agriculture because the agriculture is the first item of a community. It's coming from the writings of Baha'u'llah. In Africa, if you don't have food, they come out to buy the food. So the first investment is to invest in agriculture, but not in the agriculture as we do in the Western world. We have to bring the tools, but not leaving them to go on their own way. The only thing we have to do is to bring education, mainly basic education, in order that they could by themselves talk together and find the solution.
And I guess
one of the items in the pandemic, this is very clear everywhere. For 3 months, the sky was blue. For 3 months, no pollution in Beijing. I am living in Milan, which is an industrial area. I heard the tweet of the birds in the morning, walking in the fields. Everything was clear. In Venice, if some of you, Venice is a town in Italy where we have channels. In the channels, there were fishes. Never in the last 50 years, fishes came into the river because the water became clear, it became clean. So we have also to read from the pandemia which are the positive items which have come out. And slowly, we are learning, not only individual, but only the politicians are learning about it.
And Jeff Barnes actually asked a very similar question, your vision of a transition to a sustainable business model. So I guess you kind of covered that. Hopefully, Jeff, you're happy with Beppe's answer. And there's another question from on this area from Varga, and then we pass to Massimo Boldracchi with a couple of questions. So Varga from Canada asks, and also I recently saw, just I think the other day, the Prime Minister of Iceland was changing all the measurement of growth and of success from GDP to a number of other indicators of well-being. So what do you think about these other new ways of measuring away from GDP and towards this? Do you have some ideas of some indicators that should come up?
Of course. I am teaching at the Faculty of Economy in Italy since the last 25 years. So I wrote a book. And the last chapter of the book is that we cannot grow infinity. Growth cannot go forever. We have to put inside GDP some new, let us say, spiritual items. For example, the right of the women. For example, the same opportunity for people with different skin color. The third one, how is the health organization in the country? How is the possibility to have freedom in the country? So these are what we call it spiritual items, which should be put inside the indicators of a country. For example, China, who has the GDP and grows quickly, more than the rest of the countries, all the spiritual items are zero. So if you put them together, China is not at the top of development. So development should be analyzed not only on the economical index, but also on the index of human happiness or human rights. One of the items, for example, I am really I'm writing an article about the United Nations. How can we have a General Assembly of the United Nations where 1/3 of the nations who are at the General Assembly violating the human rights in the country, they cannot be sit there because this is one of the spiritual items, and this index should be put into the analysis. When we analyze a country, we have to put all these items. Make an example. I've read a letter today coming from the National Assembly of the United States about the conflict, the racial conflict running today in America. The letter is beautiful. This is the right vision we have to give to the people. The right vision in order that the people can accept the vision and use the vision for their own development.
There's a lot of questions coming up. So the next one is 2-in-1 from Massimo Boldracchi. I think we understand, we highlight this role of spirituality and the spiritual elevation that really brings about a better future, but it seems to be not in the news. So he's asking, how can we bring this to the attention of journalists? How can journalists, how could politicians, how could artists have this concept of spirituality, these concepts of spirituality more in the news? Do we have to pay to buy the first page of a national newspaper and a full page ad? How do we allow this that we know is a great solution to actually be known to more people and communicated through more journalists?
There are two main aspects in this question. The first one is that all the newspapers are manipulated by the political parties. So they will never write any article on this subject. It's impossible. The second one, there is a big misunderstanding about spirituality. Generally, spirituality, for those who are coming from a Catholic background or Christian background, is spirituality is someone who goes on the top of a mountain, he cries, he prays the whole day, maybe he bathes himself in order to suffer. Spirituality in the writings of Baha'u'llah is very clear. Spirituality is love into action. So even someone who is not religious can be a spiritualized human being. Love into action. Love into action means service. Just doing something for the rest of humanity or for those who are living around you. Love into action means that I'm doing a service without being paid. So we have to, and this is going only on individual level. You cannot write an article on a newspaper, explain that spirituality is love into action. No, it goes through service. Why the Universal House of Justice is increasing in all his messages that we have to serve in all the fields of humanity, because this service is bringing to the people watching us love into action. And this is the way spirituality has an action. Spirituality for myself is useless. If I love myself, there is no result. You see, love is for the rest, is to put something in order that the rest of the people could have satisfaction of my service. So, for example, serving the children, giving them education with the classes, serving junior youth, empowering them with their own qualities, serving adults with the study circle, giving them the possibility to keep their spirit in their own hands and have a new vision of the purpose of life. But you cannot do it with an article in a newspaper. This is why it's very important for the Baha'is to be in touch with the people, to increase their friendship with the people, and slowly change their vision with a new vision. This is taking time. I'm coming from a Catholic background. Maybe the people do not know that in the year 273 after Jesus Christ, a king, Constantino, he became a Catholic. And because he was the king of the Roman Empire, all the Romans became Catholic. But they did not know why, because the emperor became a Catholic. Now, with the faith of Baha'u'llah, the research of the truth is an individual activity. So we have to reach the point of the vision one by one. And this takes time. Takes time, but the roots will be very strong. And everyone who will accept the vision and take the vision for himself will operate in the field of his life with an action full of love.
And talking about love, some question. I know Celestine will get to you in a second. From Facebook, Sue Emil asked, would you say that the basis of racism is obviously a very big topic every time, especially now, thank God it came out so strongly. Would you say that the basis of racism began in Europe? Are power, control, money, fear for survival underlying factors in racism? So what is causing racism? Where does it come from? Can you share something on this area? And specifically as power, control, money, and fear. Could these four elements be some of the reasons for racism?
For 1,000 years, the society, due to the lack of communication system, the people of the planet have been living in the different parts of the world. The people of South America, the people of the Indians of the North America, the Africans, the Europeans, the Chinese. So for thousands and thousands of years, the tribes and the villages of the world were developing by themselves. Slowly, due to the fact that the communication system is becoming better, all these people with different style of life, different color of the skin, different idea about life, different way of living have come in touch. And this was about in the 17th century. Each one of these groups has tried to convince the others that their civilization was the best. The whites have developed better than the rest of the planet technology for managing the people. This is arms with the Roman Empire and so on. So they consider themselves the first class of the different races. And up to the time of Abdul Baha, when Abdul Baha went to America, the idea in 1911 was that there were different classes of population: the whites, the mixed, the blacks, the Chinese. There were different classes because many philosophers like Immanuel Kant or the Count of Gobineau from France, they have written books that there were priorities in some of the classes. And this was the idea that the whites were stronger. And because the white, for their own developed, need manpower, they went to Africa to get the manpower free of charge. And this was first for the slavery activity. So the problem is that when Baha'u'llah came, we were at the top of this conflict. And Baha'u'llah has given the solution. We are the flowers of a garden. But the solution cannot be imposed by law. The solution is to accept individually the vision that the people of the planet are the flowers of a garden. But it takes time. And it takes time, and when the time is going on, there are crises. For example, millions of people from Africa came to Europe. They put a question, and the question has convinced many people that we have to change our ideas about the skin of the color of the skin. The same is for the women. The same is for the religious behavior. So we have to accept the idea that we will need decades of a new education, taking care that Baha'u'llah has defined the human being in a different way. When someone has asked Baha'u'llah, can you give us a definition of a human being? He didn't say that in the past, the human beings have been considered the rich and the poor, the managers and the workers, the consumer and the sellers. He said the human being is a mine of gems of inestimable value. So he has given a definition which has nothing to do with the body, with the exterior part of the mine. He defined the man is the mine of gems of inestimable value. So we have to go to see the gems. And if we see the gems, we will find that all the inhabitants of the planet have the same gems. In particularly, there are 3 gems that we have in common. For example, I have some gems. Daniel have different gems. Some one of you who are connected with us have different gems. But 3 of these gems are in common. The first in common is love. The second, how to give this love to the rest of the community service. The third one is unity, because we have been created to stay together.
And there's 2 similar questions. One comes from Ruhi on YouTube, and here he's van der Vleert as another one. So he basically says that right now many governments are making decisions. They say they're powerful, but actually they are demonstrating their insecurity, insisting on national sovereignty and just decisions that are not very wise and very divisive. And so he asks, how can this insecurity be changed and create this sense of security? And Ruhi on YouTube says also, is it now a good time to talk with policymakers about these topics, about migration, race, economics? Do you think something is happening now? She mentions, of course, the Baha'i representatives at the United Nations. How could we also send this message of hope away from divisiveness to national governments?
My personal idea is that we should not enter into political discussions, but I appreciate it a lot. If you go into and read the 19th of June, the National Assembly of the United States of America has written a letter to the believers. This is the way that we have to approach the problem. And the problem cannot be approached with special solutions, because this will not be accepted. But we have to give a general vision how this mankind is unique. Because the first item to be accepted at humanity is only one, and this is the main subject. If we don't accept that humanity is only one, we will never enter into the details, into economy, into the education, into the field of environment and so on. The first one is to accept that there is only one humanity, and this is a very difficult item to be accepted. So we have to work on this item. Inside this item, we have the item of the citizen. We are approaching the problem with what I was saying at the beginning of my proposal. We are citizens of the world. We are not, I'm not Italian. You are not Spanish, also one is American. We are citizens of the world. And when you talk with the people that you generally say, I am a citizen of the world, you find that the people is also absolutely with you. They agree what you are saying. And slowly, slowly you have, this is why I'm saying when you teach the faith, you must be wise. You must be very slowly, because the people have difficulties in understanding a big jump from 200 nations to one planet.
And in this wisdom, there's Vahid Masroor from Ecuador, San Diego, many places. He asks education. So you are teaching, a number of people are teaching, some are primary, some are secondary, university, business schools. In the area of education, where would you put, when you're teaching, when you planted those seeds for the famous lemon tree, how do you use that? How can you, and also the other question is, what response are you getting when you share these things with the young, with the youth or the young people of today? So one, what is the best approach in education? And two, what responses are you receiving? Because you're there, you're on the front line, and you actually feel something from these people.
There are two pillars in education. The first one is how to read and write. And this is quite easy, because this is a technical, you have to give it technical support, and the people today, they know how to do it. The second one is how to teach values. You cannot teach values with your mouth. You have to teach value with your examples. I make you an example now, because this is connecting with my life. I have a son in Namibia with the name of Nabil. He's married with a Namibian woman, a black Namibian woman. They have two children. One is a boy, one is a girl. Of course, they are cappuccino, in the sense that my grandchild said, no, why do you say I'm a cappuccino? Because my son is milk, your mother is coffee, put together, you have a cappuccino. So one day, I went to his classroom to pick him up, to bring him home. And I've seen that in the classroom, there are children of so many different races: blonde, black, brown, Chinese, Russian, Italian, Namibian. So when we were in the car, I said, Nabil, Naim, give me an idea. How many colors you have in your classroom? He said, no, what are you saying? I don't understand the question. I said to myself, what a stupid question I'm asking. Because he has not this problem. Because for him, he already has in his soul, that we are flowers of a garden. So my question was absolutely stupid. So the new generation are already in the vision, but we have to help them in approaching the society at large, where the people do not think that we are flowers of a garden. So we have to give them shields and culture to protect themselves and their values from the running society. And these are the Baha'i classes, where they understand the process is that one. So when I'm teaching, for example, at the university, and I'm speaking about values, the people do not know what is values. Why do I need a value if I'm a CEO of a company? So you see, but slowly now, the new managers for the next 20 years, they are coming out from the university with values. And we have friends who are members of BBF, and I know them. They have values. They work in companies where they bring values. And this is the way that the society is changing its
And I'm afraid that we've come to the end of the hour, but I have one last question for you. It came flying. I'm really sorry that we didn't manage to answer all the questions that were posed. There's like 6 or 7 still to be answered. Apologies, but I'm sure we can then let Beppe answer in a separate situation. Beppe, my question to you is, what gives you hope? Because you seem to have a lot of energy despite all the things that's happening around us. A lot of people are just like, oh, but you really seem to have a very strong sense of why you're here and what gives you hope. I'm really curious to see how that we can learn from that as well.
You know, the hope is not coming from a religious belief. The hope is coming from the vision. If you have the right vision and you work with that vision and you see that the society is happy when they share your vision, you understand that the vision is the right vision. So generally, any place I'm going, in a board of directors at a university, or I'm making a speech with people generally around myself. Yesterday, I was in a meeting with some industrialists, and I was sharing the vision. The people were shocked about the vision. And I would say, for example, what pandemic has taught us. First, the value of individuals. What we have done to save the life of individuals, because individuals are very important in the world. But these individuals should have the right vision. What is the right vision? The right vision is what a pandemic has taught us: service. Because how many people we have helped during the pandemic? So we understand that service is coming from a spiritual value, which is love into action. Because service is love into action. All these doctors, all these people who have been working in hospitals or in the Red Brigades, and all these people working to save the people, their lives. This is really, they did the love into action. They were not aware why, but this is the meaning we have to show them, because the right vision gives you the power to go on and the power to show to the people that the best way to take the fruit of the lemon tree at the end of the pandemic is to protect and serve the seed we are putting today in the soil of mankind, which is the earth is but one country and mankind is seed. This is the seed, and we have to protect it with our culture, with our job, with our friends, and everywhere we go.
I think that this lemon tree, this vision will be in the minds of many people for a long time. Thank you very much, Beppe, for this inspiring sharing. And we look forward, as I mentioned in the chat, to, if you can make it, next Saturday's webinar, which will be with Jenna Nicholas. And I also posted in the chat a couple of articles from Beppe that he shared recently, which I'm sure you will find very interesting as well. As mentioned, we have recorded this, so you will find the recording on the Wilmette page soon. And we will have a transcript of Beppe's talk, which is something a number of people have been asking for. Beppe, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all. Good day and good hope. And remember to see the end into the beginning, the fruit of lemon.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Daniel.